I was wondering if somebody had any questions. Please feel free to go to the mics. I wasn't very excited about the system of the mics because, like this morning, I was sitting in the middle there, and you have to kind of disturb everyone around you to go and ask a question. So if somebody wants to, do it in the opposite way and just ask for the mic, maybe you can pass it around. Okay, great. So we have a couple of questions. Please go ahead.
I have a question for Matt. When I first learned about what Mr. Yunus did with microfinancing, and he has, I guess, pioneered it, it was about 2.5 years ago. And my first thought was actually, that's a really great idea. Let's do that online. And so just what you did. And then I was discussing it with quite a lot of people. And in the end, we agreed that it might be difficult to move the model online because Mr. Yunus always explained that his model works so well because he doesn't, everybody is paying the money back, and that's because of the, peer pressure that's created within the local communities. Basically, the community gets the money, and if you don't pay back, your neighbors don't like you anymore and stuff like that. So do you have any tool to create that kind of peer pressure, or why is it that you only have like 1% default? So your question is basically if you can shame that butcher in Kabul if he doesn't pay his... what can you do? Can you say like report as abuse, he's always borrowing, never paying?
Well, I travel a lot, so I'll just go find the guy.
With your friends from Colombia.
Yeah. It's hard. We face the same problem. When we started, we were actually in the village in Uganda doing that. So we were able to administer the loan, and the very poor aren't internet users yet, especially in Africa, and they don't use PayPal, unfortunately, so you can't get them the money. So what you had to do was work with a local NGO. So we work with local NGOs that do that sort of social reinforcement, just like the Grameen Bank does. So there are Grameen banks in every country now, little microfinance institutions that lend to the poor, and often they group the poor together and help these groups reinforce repayment rates because they vouch for each other and they guarantee repayment on behalf of each other. And so now with Kiva, they're just doing that, and it's displayed on the internet. They go to the NGO, and people write about them. They take their picture, put it on the internet, and when they pay back, the American or the European lender gets paid back too. So we very much use the same methodologies. It's just connected to the internet in a new way.
Can you just explain what happens to someone who doesn't pay back?
He wants action.
Yeah. It's dirty. No. If people don't pay back, if the borrowers don't pay back on our site, simply put, the lender doesn't get their money back. So there's no collateral. They're unsecured loans, and it's too bad for the lender, essentially. But we've had a 99% repayment rate so far. So.
Well, I think I love this Kiva project. I think one of the things is that you have this bound to some very detailed individual. So probably out of the 99%, most of it is due to the fact that you almost have a personal relationship with this person. It makes it not unpersonal, like bigger NGOs. And this is probably where this big payment back would come from.
I have a lot of personal friends who don't pay me back, though.
Yeah, those are the worst. And yes, a question?
Okay, one quick question and a comment. Cenk from Turkey, Turkcell. The comment is, we heard a lot of bashing in this session about mobile operators, but there are
we just wanted to balance.
A few things good about the mobile phone. One is actually you can use for payments, and in a lot of countries it's used really successfully. Unlike like internet, where it's really hard to actually find a good business model other than advertising, even till now after 15 years. Second, if you have the right applications, you can actually get to use a lot of people. I'll give you two quick examples. One is MSN Live Messenger. We launched it in January. In less than 3 months, we were able to get 1.1 million subscribers out of an available handset of 4 million. And then in Istanbul, the traffic is as bad as Moscow. So we introduced the second one with the municipality in Istanbul. From an available customer set of 1.2 million customers, we were able to get 200,000 people using it. And these are the applications that you can use while you are on the move. So mobile has its own advantages. But more importantly, and this is my question, if you look at the mobile operators today, they're embracing more and more the internet, the mobile broadband. And you talked a lot about the form factor, but this is usually about the phones with small screens. But in a world today where Intel is trying to develop sub-200 laptops, Negroponte $100 laptops, Nokia is working on, together with companies such as Polymer Vision, foldable handsets. And then we see companies such as iPhone coming with successful form factors. And finally, if you look at the kids today, they're really comfortable with devices such as PlayStation, which are bigger than our phone. Do you think there is hope for mobile internet for your companies also? And in addition to that, do you think that companies such as yourselves should also spend some more time in terms of developing applications that really fit to those small screens? Thank you.
Well, I was thinking this could be answered. Joichi, maybe you want to speak about the companies you've invested in, and do they show well on mobile phones? Because some do, right?
Right. So I'll answer that, but let me just reiterate clearly my argument against the mobile carriers. It wasn't that they're not useful. I was just saying that of the $10 billion that Docomo makes on the internet, most of that money ends up in old economy, dying Japanese industries. But of the same amount of money that, say, Google would make, or an internet sort of business would make, that goes back into the kind of irreverent startup little companies that we all invest in. And so I think it's just in terms of the circulation of the money that's earned, at least in Japan, isn't redistributed well. I do think it's valuable. I think all of our companies are doing really well on mobile and are working on, and of course the monetization is better than advertising right now. I mean, the commerce is better than advertising just because of the form factor, but I mean, I have a company that's doing video advertising on the internet and is doing quite well. So it's not that the business isn't going well, and that's the problem, because a lot of businesses do migrate to mobile quite well, but then we'll end up sitting on an infrastructure that's not yet completely open, and that's because at the application layer, we're unlocking the iPhone. The iPhone is a great form factor. I mean, the internet spirit is contaminating this closed world, and so I think that there's definitely a war where the upper layers are trying to force the lower layers to open. But if you get an unlocked iPhone, okay, then you get off of AT&T, but onto Sprint, and it says how much better is that? Well, that's we've won a little battle, but we haven't really won the war. We're not going from that to fun WiMAX, and so there's two discussions. I think one is the architecture. The business side, I think that mobile's essential. I mean, the Japanese highest literary award, the Akutagawa Award, was granted to a woman who wrote her book on a mobile phone, and it was read on a mobile phone. And it's become the more books are read now on mobile phone than that are purchased in these normal bookstores. And so in Japan, culturally speaking, the mobile phone is completely dominant, everywhere. And so there's no disputing the importance of that. And that's why, conversely, I feel the risk.
Yes. No, and I think also that the computers, there's a lot of things about what's successful in a big screen, successful in a little screen. And the two companies have been super successful, well, especially one of them, which is Google, in bringing its products to mobile devices. It's because Google has muscle, and also Yahoo to some extent. Yahoo Mobile, I was really impressed by how it shows up on Nokia's, on the BlackBerry. But Yahoo and Google obviously have the muscle to work with operators and show up. And what's happening, like MSN, the example was given on saying, well, MSN, Microsoft is showing up in my mobile as if that was the big accomplishment of of a mobile operator. They allowed Microsoft, right? Well, I think there's all these little companies that are trying to get in, and all the companies that we represent in a way are little companies compared to others, which was the main spirit of this session. So we are going to conclude now. I thank all the participants very much for joining me, and I thank you all for the questions you've made. Thank you very much.